Welcome back to another video. In today's lesson, we're going to be focusing on trigonometry. Trigonometry deals with the relationship between the sides and angles of triangles. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is how do we label the sides of right angled triangles. Across from the 90 degrees will always be our hypotenuse, that's the longest side. Across from the other angle in question will always be our opposite, and therefore this side over here is going to be our adjacent. These are the three descriptors that we're going to be using. So we have opposite, the hypotenuse, and the adjacent side. Let's go to number 2 and see if we can do the same thing over here. So again, across from the 90 degrees will always be the longest side, which is called the hypotenuse. Across from the other angle in question, the 90 degrees this time around, across from it, we are going to have our opposite. Therefore, this side over here is going to be our adjacent side. You can pause the video and have a go if you think you know how to label questions 3 and 4. Okay, welcome back if you had a go. So let's have a look at these answers. Across from the 90 degrees will be our hypotenuse, and across from the 60 degrees will be our opposite. Therefore, this side, 4, will be representing our adjacent. So well done if you got that correct. Question 4. Again, across from my 90 degrees will be my hypotenuse, the longest side. And across from the 50 degrees will be my opposite. Therefore, this side is going to be my adjacent. So well done again if this is what you have. We're going to be using these skills to address the questions that are now on your screen. We're also going to be using the mnemonic SOH CAH TOA to address these so that we can see the relationship between the sides and the angles. So firstly, again, we're going to be labeling the sides of the triangle. So across from my 90 degrees is going to be my hypotenuse. Across from the 35 degrees, we're going to have the opposite. Therefore, x is going to be the adjacent side. Now, we need to look carefully as to which side we don't need. So at the moment, we can see that we don't need the h because we don't have that value. Therefore, I'm just going to erase it for now. Then I'm looking at the other two letters that I have, O and A, and I'm going to go over to my mnemonic, SOH CAH TOA, to find out where do I find O and A. And O and A are down at the bottom here, and this is beside tangent. So tan for short of the angle is equal to O over A. So we're going to have tan of the angle, and the angle is 35 degrees in our triangle, is equal to the fraction on the right side. So O divided by A. So if I look at my triangle, O is now going to be replaced with 5, and A is going to be replaced with X. So I have X in the denominator. So what I can do, I can simply keep my 5 in that position, and then the X will be replaced with tan 35. Therefore, X is going to be on the left-hand side now. So this becomes my calculation. Please be careful here. At this point, you must make sure that your calculator is in degrees mode. If it is not, then it's going to be returning the incorrect answer. So it needs to be in degrees mode. So 5 divided by tan 35 is going to be equal to, on our calculators there, we're going to get 7.14 and so on. But we want to record our answer to 1 decimal place. Therefore, I would go to the 4, and since 4 is less than 5, I'm going to be rounding down. So this becomes 7.1 centimeters. So x would be equal to 7.1 centimeters. Let's have a look at the next one. Firstly, we start off by labeling the sides of the triangle. So across from my 90 degrees will be my hypotenuse, and across from my other angle, the 65 degrees, will be my opposite. Therefore, x will be my adjacent. So we can see here that we do not need O because there's no value there for it. So we're now going to be looking at the two other letters. So we have A and H. And A and H, let's look in the mnemonic to find A and H. And we can see that from here. This C is for cos of the angle. Okay, so cos of the angle is 65 degrees in our triangle, is equal to this fraction. And we see that A is going to be divided by H. So A on our triangle is going to be replaced with X, and H is going to be replaced with 10. So when we do this calculation, we're going to be getting on our calculator. So again, in the x is in the numerator this time around, and if x is in the numerator, we're going to be multiplying the other two values that we have here. So we're going to have 10 is going to be multiplied by cos 65 to give us the value of x. So on our calculator, making sure that this is in degrees mode, we're now going to get 4.22 and so on. Again, we want to record our answer to 1 decimal place based on the question. Therefore, we're going to go to the 2. We're going to go to this 2, and we're going to ask, is it 5 or bigger? Since it's less than 5, where nothing is going to happen to the other 2, so our answer would just be 4.2, and our question there is in meters, so therefore we keep the unit being meters, 4.2 meters. Okay, so very well done there if you got that question. For these other two questions, we're going to be focusing on finding the angle. The question will be done the very same way, starting off by first labeling the sides of the triangle. So across from my 90 degrees will be my hypotenuse, and across from the other angle in question, theta, is going to be my opposite. Therefore, the other side is going to be the adjacent side, but we don't have that value, so I don't need to write that down. So therefore, I'm going to be looking in my mnemonic for O and H, O and H, and I can see that happening from the top here for S, and S stands for sine of the angle. So therefore, I would put sine of the angle, and the angle is theta in this case. Therefore, this would be equal to that fraction on the right. So O divided by H. And O is now being replaced with 7. And H is being replaced with 15. Therefore, for me to find the value of theta, we're going to have theta is equal to sine inverse, which is written as like this, sine inverse, sine to the power of -1. And we're going to have the same fraction in brackets. So to get sine inverse on your calculator, you need to press Shift, then sine to get sine inverse. Shift and sine to get sine inverse. If it was cos inverse, it would be Shift and then cos, and tan inverse would be Shift and then tan. So therefore, we now have sine inverse of this fraction, and this is going to give us a value of 27.81 and so on. But again, we want our answer recorded to 1 decimal place. Therefore, we're going to be going to the 1, and since 1 is less than 5, we're going to be rounding down. So our answer there for theta would just be 27.8 degrees. You may pause the video at this stage and have a go at question number 8. Welcome back if you had a go. Let's have a look and see how well you got on. So again, we're going to be labeling the sides of our triangle. So across from the 90 degrees, we would have had our hypotenuse there. And across from the other angle would have been our opposite. Therefore, the 13 would be the adjacent side. So we don't need that h at the moment, so I'm just going to take it out so as to not to confuse myself. So now I'm going to be looking for O and A in my mnemonic again. So I can see here that TOA has O and A. So I will write down tan of the angle, and the angle is theta, is equal to this fraction, O divided by A. So O is going to be replaced with 10, and A is going to be replaced with 13. So for me to find the value of theta, theta would be equal to tan inverse of the same fraction. So now on our calculator, we're going to get 37.56 and so on. So we need to round our answer to 1 decimal place. So we're now going to go to the 6 and we ask, is it 5 or bigger? It is bigger than 5, therefore we're going to be adding 1 to the 5 to make 6, and then we would have 37.6 degrees for the value of theta. Okay, so 37.6 there for the value of theta. I hope that you've been enjoying this video and you've learned something new. Please like, comment, subscribe and share, and turn on your post notification bell to receive more updates whenever we upload content for you. I will see you in the next one.